Hello, Khalid. Khalid, can you hear me?
Hey
Hey,
Warren, how you
Khalid.
doing?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm, I'm
Are you
I'm
going to
just
be
right
doing the
here.
housing?
Hi, how you doing, Khalid?
Doing well. Doing well.
Good.
All right,
Did
good
I
to
hear a
hear.
voice that didn't say hello to me? Amazing. Khalid,
Yes.
are you able to put up any of the reports that EDC sent in?
Hold on 1 second. Let me just get my microphone, my
Take
headphones.
your time.
All right.
Okay, Warren.
Hello.
Yes, Alicia, we can hear you.
Okay, why don't I see a camera, a video option
For
for me? I don't see anything.
you don't see yourself and
Right, it's
or
not.
myself and Warren
I see
because I
one.
you see
Just
myself and
kind of
Warren.
like,
So you likely have to allow the camera option on your
Yeah.
phone. So here, do you see it? So hold on 1 second.
Okay.
I'll share it. Like, do you see my content, my screen content right now?
Hold on.
yeah.
Oh God. Yeah, yeah. I see your screen content. Yes, it says
Okay.
starting X
Cisco
meeting.
WebEx. Okay, so yeah, that's one of my browsers. Um, Goodness. Okay, well, at least for me, at the I have the option to stop sharing, and you'll see uh mute or the video option. Click video, and that should enable your video to showing up.
It says WebEx meetings will not have access to your camera until it is quit. What does that mean?
So I think that might be a setting on your computer that you need to allow the WebEx program to have access to your camera and your microphone and as such, and then you'll be able to allow your video to go through or your microphone to go through. So I don't know
I
where
just
that's.
clicked it. I just clicked it. It says Cisco WebEx meeting. I just clicked it. So that should be good. So, okay. Did that help? No, I don't,
I don't think I'm seeing your.
no, I don't see that.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Okay, and I'm sorry, Warren. You were asking me to pull up information last sent from DDC.
From DVC, yeah.
Okay, hold on for 1 second. Let me try to.
And also the DOC doc, DOT doc that was just sent, if you have it. If not, we can just, she'll review it.
Okay, all right then. I'll let me forward that over to. Yeah, hold on 1 second.
No, I have it. I was wondering if you could put it up on the
Just a
screen.
second. Screen, nice speaker, microphone. Let's see.
Hello, Emily.
Microphone, camera.
Emily, can you hear me? Hi. Carmen will not be chairing the meeting. I am in her place, but she is on. I think, and the appointments to the new board have not been received from Matthew Eugene, so we're just waiting on that.
Let's see. Microphone. Speaker microphone.
You can mute Alicia. So Khalid, the way that we should do this is that I'll be taking attendance. And once I take attendance and people are speaking and making presentations, you have the capability to mute everybody. Khalid?
That's Warren. I'm sorry, I was muted my. Yeah, so understood. When you're taking attendance, right? Correct. To unmute
Right,
who you.
mute everybody, and then when DOT and DGC make their presentations, you should mute everybody.
Right.
And then, do you know how to do the raise hand?
Yes, of course. Everybody should have the option if you go into. Well, you can click open participants, and you should click on the side as well. You should be able to open the chat.
Okay, because let's use the raise hand. That seems to be working on the other meetings I attend.
Right, of course.
Okay.
And of course, we have the chat as well. You can post a message to everyone, to myself as the host, or anybody specifically, of course. So there are those options as well. Yeah. So in terms of the, I'm sorry. Go ahead. Say that again.
You go ahead. In terms of
The DDC content that you're requesting, because we receive regular posts from Alexandra Gergis. I don't know if specifically you want.
not just the update on Empire. It just says what work is being done.
Okay, all right then.
every week.
Okay, 1 second, because yeah, there's you have no curbside parking on Empire. We have the weekly construction bulletin, of course. So let me pull
That's the
these
one.
up. Okay, hold on 1 second. This is the last one that she sent. It's actually today, 4:35. Perfect. Okay.
This is the minute information. And then for DOT, Emily sent an update. Did you receive that? It just came in.
I think.
Hi, everybody. This is Warren Burke. We'll be starting in about a couple of minutes.
Khalid, could you again try to help me with the video again? If you could try again.
So Ms. Boyd, if you highlight over the general screen of the participants in the video, you see the options that pop up: mute, stop my video, share content, participants, chat. Do you see those options in the bubbles?
I see bubbles. Yes, I do. Mm-hmm.
Click the video one.
It says open system preferences. Mm-hmm. Okay. Okay.
Into that.
Okay, so. Okay, allow the apps below to access your camera, and put a check on that. Okay, I checked it.
WebEx. Okay. And Warren, I do have. I'm sorry, and Warren, I do have the recent response from Emily from DOT.
Okay, so when Emily speaks, could you just put that up on the screen, please?
Right, of course. I'll share the content. You just let me know when
Terrific.
it's ready. And let me see here. I also have the most recent weekly construction bulletin ongoing until June 5th, 2020.
Right, and is that Empire?
Yes, this is specifically notes Empire Boulevard from Schenectady Avenue to Utica, Washington Avenue, Franklin Avenue, those hotspot areas. Let me just also make sure I have the other documents downloaded onto my.
So take your time. We're going to start at 7:05.
Okay.
still not showing.
Hello, Lauren.
Who is that? Francesca, how are you?
Hello.
Who's that?
Callista.
Hi, Callista, how are you?
I'm good. How about yourself?
Good, I'm good. Callista, I was thinking that since you're the co-chair, that you may want to do the DDC update. And when we talk about the DOT, the updates on the open issues, is that something that you could
I'm
do?
not familiar with that. So I'm sorry. I will for the DDC at least.
Okay, I'll do it. Okay, let's start this meeting. My name is Warren Burke. I'm first vice chair of the CB9. Carmen Martinez is not sharing this meeting tonight. Basically, a new list of appointees came out for the board, and we have not received the appointees from Matthew Eugene, which she is the appointee of, which we should be receiving over the next couple of days. So I want to welcome everybody. I'm glad to see everybody. I hope you're all healthy and your family are healthy. I'd like to take a minute now just to reflect upon everybody who is suffering from COVID-19, as well as the present situation that was started in Minneapolis. Okay. All right. The first thing I need to do is take attendance of the committee members. Is Paco there? That's Paco. Khalid, unmute everybody, okay? Paco is here. Augustine Blackwell? Lister is here. Lister, you're here, correct?
Present.
Correct. Suman, is Suman here? Until you, sorry. Hold. Is Karen Fleming on the line? Valerie Fleming? Shlobo Hecht? Desmond Ross? Elise Robertson? And Jeffrey Grandam.
Present. Can you hear me? Felice Robertson.
Felice. Hi, Felice.
Hi.
Okay, so Khalid, just go to the participants and take a screenshot of that, so we know who's here and what residents are here. Okay, so the first thing we have on the agenda is DOT, and Emily, you're on the line.
Yeah,
Hi, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. Okay, so the first thing on the agenda is the discussion on Eastern Parkway open streets. Do you have any information before we open that up to discussion?
So due to the feedback that we received from community organizations, local electeds, we're no longer pursuing using Eastern Parkway as an open street. So we are still taking recommendations for other streets located near it, but Eastern Parkway is not going to be looked at, essentially.
Do you have any other streets that you're looking at?
We're on round 5 of, technical review. We will be releasing information, I believe, in about a week or so.
Okay, so how important is our input? Will it be integrated?
Well, anybody can submit a recommendation for a street to be considered an open street. What happens after it's submitted, there's a technical review by us. There's some
Okay.
limitations that we cannot implement an open street on. And then after, the review of the list, anything that has the capacity to operate as an open street then gets sent to the other agencies involved, who then, they can give us their feedback. And then if it goes through the whole process, then, and we find that it's possible to operate an open street, it would then move forward.
Okay. Khalid, could you unmute the mics, please? And does anybody on the committee have any suggestions or recommendations?
You here to join us, or are you going to wait for Matt?
Who's that? You had a comment?
Do you want to join us?
Hi, I'm
Go ahead.
not sure. Is this the right moment to make suggestions for open street proposals?
Yes.
So if you go onto our website, there's a form to input your suggestions on. I can send that after the meeting.
Yeah, so sorry, I was referred to this meeting by Zelnor Myri's office, who we had submitted a proposal, not a direct proposal to, but we had brought the idea up with, and they directed us to come to this meeting and kind of discuss with the committee, and we would love to do that if it's the appropriate venue for that.
That's fine. Who is we? Who are you representing?
Yeah, so my name is Remy Schwartz, and I'm just here with a group of 2 other neighbors who live in Prospect Lefferts Gardens. We're not an official organization. We just connected over interest in pursuing an open space in the neighborhood, and we're interested in the idea that open space could alleviate a lot of the mental and public health issues associated with coronavirus, especially as the summer goes on. And our hunch was that the community would be supportive, but before we submitted a proposal, we were interested in getting as much community input as possible. So we reached out to a few elected officials and a few neighborhood groups, and we also launched like a Google form asking people to give their opinion about a couple of routes we were suggesting, and if they would want to volunteer to help put out barricades and hear their opinions about getting involved. And we heard back from about 50 different residents in Prospect Lefferts Gardens, and about 90% of them were supportive, and over half they'd be willing to volunteer to help with barricades. So we were hoping to proposals that we had kind of mentioned to that group to this meeting, and bring them before Community Board 9 and talk about submitting a proposal to DOT.
Talk about it. What are your proposals?
Yeah, so we were looking at 4 different routes in Prospect Lefferts Gardens. We were looking at Sterling Street, Lefferts Ave, Fenimore Street, and Rutland Ave. Any of those, any or all of them, but we were thinking one or maybe two, specifically between Washington and Brooklyn, or between Flatbush and Brooklyn. So anywhere from 4 to 5 blocks. The long span is really great, especially for the eastern Lefferts Gardens, which is pretty far from Prospect Park. This map out by the Trust for Public Land a couple of weeks ago ranked Eastern PLG as an area with deep need for parks, especially right now with all the playgrounds closed because of the virus. And the 4 streets we were looking at all fit that kind of basic DOT requirement for open streets. They're not truck routes, they're not bus routes, and none of them are kind of like main throughways for emergency vehicles for the hospital or for the fire station on Rogers.
I have a question. I live on Sterling Street. Have you reached out to the block associations on Sterling Street before you consider making us, putting us on the list?
We reached out to the PLG Neighbors Association, but we haven't reached out to individual block associations. I think beyond that, that's part of the reason we're here is we don't want to submit a proposal without everybody's input that would be affected by it. We were interested and wanted to get in. We're here looking to connect with all of the relevant groups that would have an opinion and that would want to speak in this conversation. And if there are specific block associations you would encourage us to get in touch with, I would love to hear who those are so that I could feel about the potential of opening Sterling Street.
Well, if you are going to do this, that's the first step. Before you came to the community board, you should be going to the block association.
Warren, I would like to speak.
Because it's those block associations that will be mostly affected by the closing of the streets. You can probably talk to somebody at the community board or the local precinct at the list of block associations that are connected to particular streets in which you are attempting to close. I think that should be your first step before you're coming into the community board.
That's great. Thank you, Elizabeth. Carmen?
Yes. Hi. I am I'm speaking on behalf of the Sterling B&W Block Association.
Okay.
I don't know who's there.
Okay.
That just
Somebody doing something in the background. There's a lot of noise. Can they mute their phones?
only the person speaking should be unmuted. Should be muted until the person finishes speaking. Can I speak now?
Go ahead, Carmen.
Okay. So speaking on behalf of the Sterling Street B&W Block Association, I can tell the gentleman that under no circumstances are we in agreement with you offering our street, our block. There have been no consultation with our block association. Our block association had discussed this issue and we are not open to anyone that doesn't live on our block, offering our block to be an open street. I think that's mighty disrespectful, not only to our block, but to every other block that's involved, that the block association has not been consulted and that you put our streets out as an offer without so much as trying to communicate with us. PLG does not represent our block. We live in Prospect Lefferts, but they don't represent our block and they don't represent the others. So if you're looking for input from Sterling Street B&W, the answer is no.
Okay, thank you, Carmen. Remy, what I suggest is this.
May I speak as well?
Who's this?
This is Felice. I heard Washington and Brooklyn, Washington Avenue and Brooklyn was suggested as the vice president of WABA. Okay, we do not condone that either. Okay, it was not discussed with Hector Robertson, who is the president of WABA. So it has to first come to us as well.
I agree. So Remy, thank you, Felice. The input that you're getting is valid. What I would do is I would contact the CB9 office tomorrow and ask for the block associations and contacts for the block associations, speak with them, and then you can move forward.
Hey guys, oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
I just want to speak. You know, I understand that there's a process reaching out to the various boards. But I also, as someone who's more involved, you have Remy here who is new. He's probably new to becoming involved in the community. So a lot of people aren't aware of the necessary steps. So I just want to commend you, Remy, for actually coming to speak up about this issue. And, I hope that you reach out to the respective block associations. We don't want to make you or anyone else feel like your suggestions are not warranted. But I think it's important to also educate our community members that now that he knows, okay, there's a process to this, but he probably wasn't aware. So, I just think that he's doing the best he can to approach the community board transportation committee first. So I just want to share my thoughts on that. Let's be a little easy on him. I'm sure he doesn't intend to be disrespectful.
No, I don't, Remy, to make this clear, I don't think you're being disrespectful, and I appreciate you coming to the board. Part of the function of CB9 is to help and assist you in reaching your objectives. So if you give either Khalid, who's on this meeting, or me or a call tomorrow, they can, certainly assist you on the process. But I do have one comment that something that should really be considered, and this is for Emily also, are the lowest streets, that are not represented by a group. For instance, from Nordstrom to Utica, from Empire to Clarkson. And there were a lot of blocks there. There were a number that are not well trafficked at all. So we should consider them also. Any other comments? Yes.
I put my information for Remy if you want to talk a little bit more on the chat.
That's great. Thank you, Emily. All right.
I'd also like to make just a quick comment. Remy, I'd suggest Lincoln. I don't know if they'd be interested, but I know my block, I'm on Lincoln between Nostrand and Rogers. There is no active block association, but I believe there is one, if not two, block associations closer towards the park. It is closer to the park, so perhaps less need, but I know they've done, they have opened up the street to people and closed it to vehicle traffic over the summer for other block party kind of events. So they may already have some ideas about what would work, what wouldn't work. It might be worth reaching out to them.
Thank you. Yeah, I actually live on the same block, and the blocks we suggested, I only didn't put Lincoln on that list because we have a lot of through traffic to Flatbush. So that's why we were just looking at the blocks that we thought would disrupt people the least, but I'm here for the feedback. So I really appreciate everybody's feedback, and we will definitely follow up with the individual block associations on those blocks. I'm also just interested in any other blocks that were not any of the four different streets that we mentioned. So if folks have other ideas, please feel free to get in touch. Thanks everyone for the feedback. I really appreciate it.
And Paco, thank you very much for coming, and we're here to assist you. Any other comments? All right, let's move on to bike lanes on Flatbush Avenue. Emily, you want to tell us about that?
So right now there is a temporary installation of a bike lane on Flatbush Avenue from Grand Army Plaza to Ocean Avenue. It will become permanent sometime in the future. We just have constraints considering COVID emergency response upended a lot of our scheduled projects, and we have received really deep cuts to our budgets. So we are trying to prioritize things that are not more important, but that would benefit the community more than other projects. And so I know a lot of your concerns about Flatbush are regarding the safety and the visibility. We are trying the best we can with the limited materials we have. All the barrels that the bike unit has in their materials stock is out on the streets right now. We don't have much more materials to, implement better those longer barriers that you guys have mentioned. So, we're really, our hands are tied a bit right now.
Okay. Anybody have any questions or discussion on the bike lane on Flatbush Avenue between Empire and Eastern Parkway?
I have a bike lane question in general.
Who's this?
I just curious what the long-term plan is with bike lanes. I imagine there will be many people hesitant to take the subway and more people biking because of COVID-19, and just wondering what the plan is to make sure that people can use that as a mode of transportation safely.
Yeah, again, there's a lot of bike lanes that are being put out in temporary measures along in different neighborhoods in Brooklyn. This is one of them. Again, I can't tell you what our schedule is like going forward. So I don't know when that will be converted to something more permanent.
This is Felice. You spoke of bike lanes on Flatbush and Eastern Parkway. I'm trying to understand in what parameters or in directions that you're speaking of.
Flatbush from Grand Army Plaza to Ocean Avenue.
Okay.
I'd like to comment. This past weekend, I both biked along that route and drove along that route. And I guess I do have concerns. I think you've probably heard them all from the CB already and just from other users. And I understand. I know resources are stretched very thin, and there's a lot going on in the city right now. So I get it, but it was not a great experience on either biking it or driving it. I found it was a little confusing. I would hope, in the long term, I hope it does become a much clearer thing, both for cyclists, for pedestrians, and for drivers. But and I know no matter what work you do, someone could very easily just move those barrels. I don't know if any of them in your toolkit are the ones that could be filled with just water. Some of those, things that look more like Jersey barriers instead. Those are harder to move, but those two can be moved by people. But I still appreciate you and your office trying to implement things as quickly and safely as possible.
I would like to ask a question. I just read in the newspaper that the Department of Transportation went to the adjourning CB9 board and got the approval for this particular bike lane. So I'm a little confused about why you're coming here, because it appears, as far as the media has noted, that this has already been approved and it's a done deal. So I'm a little confused about why you're here.
Alicia, let me just interject, okay? I do not remember this coming to the board. I know that it's been on, I know that it's been in planning for a bike lane for years. So Emily, you can fill in the rest.
So this may have predated, may have predated before I started at the Brooklyn Commissioner's Office. So I will get back to you on if we did present the presentation and the date.
This happened about 2 weeks ago.
Oh, Alicia, now I can answer. We had a presentation for permanent bike lanes.
Yes.
We were doing the Flatbush Avenue. Okay, and that was agreed upon. The temporary bike lanes was not brought to the board. It was done as something to react to people using more bikes during the COVID-19 process.
So, like you said, Warren, yes, the plan was initially brought to the Transportation Committee for the bike lane as a part of the Greater Parks Restoration project. I missed that Transportation Committee meeting, but I remember there was a recap sent out with the presentation. And then it was brought up It wasn't up for vote, though. I remember that much. And then eventually it was presented in front of the full board, which also was not up for vote because it was a done deal. The temporary bike lane, like you mentioned, is as a result of the code process, but it's pretty much there where the permanent bike lane is going to be anyway.
Will be.
Does that make
Okay.
sense?
Yep, complete. Okay. Alicia, that answers your questions.
Well,
Okay.
what I would like to do is send you the link. And I'm going to put this in the email so that everyone will see. And also for the guest, Emily, because she seems to not know.
That's not correct, but go ahead.
Where it clearly states that this was presented to the community board, the adjourning Park Slope Community Board, and that they already agreed upon this bike lane. So, and it was never brought to CB9, and the vote was never taken at CB9 because I attend each one of those meetings, so I know for sure.
We're highly aware of that, Alicia. Okay, thank you. Emily, I don't think there's much action here because it was brought before the board. And as Celeste properly filled this in, that there wasn't a vote because it was done. But I think at this point in time, in terms of any way of increasing alternate transportation that lowers your risk of contracting COVID-19 is a positive thing. So thank you. All right, you want to go, Emily, could you go over the updates on what you sent today?
So
just 1 second, Khalid, can you put that on the screen?
Yes, I can. 1 second.
Do that with Lisa all the time. There used to be a time that the New York Times did something, you could write a letter.
Curtis.
You can call a reporter and know whatever the reporter might call you back on.
Can you mute everybody, please?
Yes, and can you also see my screen, by the way?
yes.
Yeah, that's perfect. So Emily, why don't you review each item or what you'd like to review, and Khalid can scroll as you request.
It's a 7-page document with information. I'm not sure if going case by case is the most efficient.
So do it how you feel you should do it. Give us the highlights of the open spaces.
I mean, some things are denied, some things are ongoing. Other cases have not been, the study has not been concluded yet. Is there anything that's, maybe it's best that,
you're right.
you review the document and you can send it to the board, the committee, and then we can talk about it.
Can I speak, Warren?
Sure, but just hold on. I was just going to say that why don't we ask some questions, and then if it's too new of information, it should be brought to the committee in September. But go ahead, Alicia.
I need to ask Emily some questions about her response.
Uh-oh, go ahead.
Emily?
Yes.
All right, with regard to the Midwood Street situation, you say it's ongoing. So are they still considering other options to alleviate the situation there with the flooding?
Unfortunately, unless there is a reconstruction of the street, there is no intermediate effort, like no intermediate solution to ponding.
So would it be something that the board can help by putting in requests in the budget?
Yes, that.
And is it 5 million for real, just for that one?
I don't know. I have not seen the cost estimate, but it would be around. It seems true.
Okay, so we can basically look into submitting some kind of request for funding for the, what is it, 2022 budget?
Yes.
Okay. Then, on Lefferts Avenue, I said that they installed, quick curb with bullers. There are no quick curb extensions on, Bedford at the intersection of no measures at Washington. The complaint is really all about safety issues with the buses and the speeding, the right-hand turn onto Lefferts, and this that were referred to our DOT. So they did safety measures on Lefferts and Bedford, but why have they not looked into the Washington and Lefferts?
What about Washington?
No, that's not your way, Felice. That's Washington and Lefferts.
Sorry, 1 second. Let me pull up my document also.
Like to speak and so comment.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, Francesca, I didn't know you were there. You're the Black Association president, so please. There's the bump, the denial of the bump and a whole host of stuff.
It's been, Emily, it's been almost 3 years, going up to 4 years since we put in for an application for the block from Bedford to Washington. Now, I did put in, I have the 2 blocks from Rogers to Washington. So we got the speed bumps on Lefferts Avenue between Rogers to Bedford. So we have speed bumps there, and then we wanted the speed bumps to continue to the other block. So I don't understand why it's denied, because when it was presented about 2 years ago, we were told that it was approved, and they were just waiting to come up with a date as to when it would be installed. Now, we have had several complaints. Just on Monday, residents on that block from Bedford to Washington, they called and they said, look, we want to meet with you so we can call the DOT so they can do something, because we cannot deal with the speeding. When motorists leave Rogers and they get to the Bedford light and they look down the street at Washington and see the green light, they fly down to make the light at Washington. It is very dangerous. There are few apartment buildings there. It's very dangerous out there. So for the life of me, the DOT's office will be bombarded with letters, because the people on this block, they are frustrated. One person got hit, or 1 or 2 persons got injured on the block down there. About 8 cars were damaged because somebody was trying to beat the light from Washington to Bedford. Okay, so I was very shocked, or I am shocked indeed, to see the denial for these bumps, because this application have been out there for 4 years. And I keep asking them to hold on, DOT got it, we should be getting it soon. So I am not very happy with the results, and I guess your office will be getting a whole lot of letters, because we need the speed bump. There are about 5 or 6 apartment buildings with young kids, and we had this summer approaching. We're in the summer months, almost in the summer months, and motorists are speeding over there. Older folks there's a church right there in the corner on Washington, and there is another church right here on Bedford. It is important that we get the speed bump. So I am asking you to take this back to the table, review it, because every week your office will be getting a bunch of letters to look, because we need it. Don't wait until someone gets killed or some child gets killed on that street. Because I live here, I'm the president for both blocks, and I'm telling you, motorists stand up in my window and I just see them revving. Motorcycles, they are just like they're on a racetrack and they try to beat that light at Washington. Please, I'm admonishing you to revisit it because I'm not going to sit on it. We're waiting and I told them, hey, they are working on this, so we should be hearing something. So I am very much disturbed to see this result. Very much indeed.
Okay, thank you, Francisca. Emily, will you take that back and give that input, please?
I can, unfortunately, it's all the criteria that are needed for an installation of a speed bump was not met. Therefore, it cannot be installed. You are more than welcome to submit another
May I ask you a
study.
Warren, ask a question.
Yes, but let's get that information offline.
They have Bedford, Lefferts Avenue, Bedford to Rogers. They met the criteria. Then we have Rogers Avenue to Bedford. They met the criteria. So, and we just basically have private homes there. The other blocks have a whole lot of kids and more apartment buildings. So what is the criteria needed for that stretch? It's the same thing. What's the criteria? Motorists are turning and then they're driving down there. So what's the criteria that the other two blocks met and that stretch didn't meet it? So I'd really like to know what the criteria are.
Okay, I can get that to you after the meeting.
Could I suggest that Emily sends that to you offline?
Yep.
So you have it, and then let's bring it back up at the next meeting, okay?
Yes.
Okay, any other discussions or questions for Emily? Okay, Emily, thank you so much. We appreciate your time. And hopefully we'll be seeing you at the next meeting. And if you could give that to Francesca and we could take a look at other feedback, we'll get it to you.
Okay, thank you. I sent this list earlier today. If you have any questions regarding anything on it, please get back to me. I left my email there for everyone to be able to contact me. But thank you. Hopefully,
I don't know if it was distributed yet, but it will be.
Yes.
Emily, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay, now the next is the GDC, an update on Empire. Is Alexandra on the phone or at the meeting? Alexandra? Okay, she's not here. From my review of the documents, there's a lot of work going on between Utica and Schenectady. And for next week, there is no work scheduled for Empire and Washington. Does anyone have any questions or comments about that?
That's what I want to know.
So we're going to go on to the next. Is there anyone from the MTA on the phone? Carmen, could you fill us in on the MTA what the points were? Expecting someone?
The transportation committee that the press releases that MTA put out with regard to the no train operation, what is it from
1 to 5.
Right, from 1 to 5, the cleaning, the COVID cleaning, the ultraviolet pilot light cleaning and things of that nature. So this is just open discussion. If anybody has any comments, have experience getting stuck somewhere and not able to go home, if they have heard any complaints from people in the community that have been hindered, due to, so if there's nothing, that was just open discussion.
So taking Carmen's lead, does anybody have any comments or discussion about the subways being closed from 1 to 5 a.m. and or the new method of cleaning using ultraviolet lights. And Khalid, could you take your screen down, please? Thank you. Any comments, questions? All right, thank you.
Warren, yeah, this is Jeff
Who is
Granum.
this?
This is Jeff Granum. Hey, I just need you to circle back to the Empire project. You stated there was a schedule that was starting for next week, or did I mishear you?
Yes, I believe for next week, that the schedule is from, which section were you talking about, Jeffrey?
Well, I didn't hear what section you had mentioned. Was it work?
Oh, okay. Okay, Schenectady to Utica on Empire. They're doing wiring and laying some pipes. And on Empire from Washington, I guess up to, let me just think, Empire, the block above Empire, there's no work scheduled.
There's no work scheduled.
Correct.
Okay. You know, I see
The
that
documents I have.
because there is some work that is being done. I'm not sure if it's plumbing, but there's work being
Wendy's, right?
From Popeyes down to
Popeyes, right.
To Lefferts.
Okay.
There's definitely work being done. It might not have anything to do with the Empire project. It might be something different. And there was work that was done approximately a month to 6 weeks ago.
Okay.
Where at first there were signs up saying that Franklin from Sterling to Empire was going to be closed until August. And then suddenly they finished the work and, things went back to normal. So, it's just hard to tell what's going on and if it has anything to do with the Empire project.
Okay, Jeffrey, what we'll do is we'll follow up on that. I ride that street every day, so I know the work that you're talking about, and we'll find out what's going on. But important to the document that we received, and I believe it's for next week, no work will be going on. But let's check it out, because I'm very familiar with the work that you're saying. Okay, it's along the edge of the curve.
Yes.
Exactly. Okay.
Thanks.
Thank you. Okay. Any other comments on the suspension of service or the ultraviolet cleaning? Right. Any new business? Any new business? Any old business? Any old business? Okay. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
I motion to adjourn.
Thank you, Jeffrey.
I second that. I second that.
Thank you. Okay, listen. Thank you all for being here. Okay, and Jeffrey, we'll get back to you. Okay, Jeffrey?
All right.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm trying to get some added information. Sam Allen, I need to get his information. Okay, so the is.
Hi,
We'll
Sam.
get
You,
Jeffrey from you.
Sam, can you message in the chat information for Francesca, please?
Hey, sorry about
Here, Sam.
put into the chat my email address. And
He just address in the chat.
yeah,
Thank you.
you got it? Thank you.
Yeah, I got it.
Okay.
All right.
Okay, thank you all. Be safe, be healthy.
Thank you all. Have a good night.
Good
Thank
night.
you all. Good night. Thank you, Khalid.
Yeah, no worries, Warren. No worries.
Good job. Good job. Thank you.
Thanks, Khalid.
Yes.
Thank you, Khalid.
Thank you all. Thank you all. Have a good one. Stay safe.
Thank you.
You
Take care.
too.
Good night.
Good night.